Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and I'm out here with two of my most disappointing firearms of the year in the sense of reliability based on, I guess you would say, assumed quality, right? So first off, we have the 20-inch Aero Precision that you see right here. This is a total Aero Precision build that required quite a bit of tuning because it's extremely undergassed. So what I'm out here testing is whether or not the current buffer and buffer spring weight and the combination thereof will actually cycle reliably, because I was having failures to lock open on an empty mag even with a very light buffer system, and it's just very undergassed even with a suppressor. So very pleasant to shoot, but is it reliable? And the other day I was having issues getting it to charge correctly in the cold weather, where I would pull back on the charging handle like so, let it rip, and it wouldn't go into battery because I was running a 20% reduced recoil spring from Springco in order to allow it to cycle properly. But then that was causing issues getting it to charge the first round without using the forward assist. So right now I've got a standard buffer spring in here with a 2.1 ounce buffer, which is an Odin Works light buffer system that I tuned down to the lowest possible weight. So that's a little bit crazy and doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence when it comes to reliability, especially in adverse conditions, right? So, well, this is nice and charged now, can't go wrong. And then the other gun that I'm referring to regarding reliability and the perceived quality that wasn't necessarily there reliability-wise is the Kimber Raptor 2 stainless steel in 10mm. Now, this is a really expensive firearm. The Aero Precision was a much less expensive build. It was supposed to be my budget SPR project, which might be a failure at this point in time, but we're working on it. We're gonna get it there. Now, this runs pretty smooth now that I've gotten it fixed. And the only issue it had was a slide stop that was improperly polished, which kept catching on the rounds as they pushed up in the magazine, and that would create it premature slide lock, whereas it would assume the magazine was empty because the round that was next in succession was pushing up on the slide stop, causing the slide to lock back even though there was still rounds in the magazine. So Kimber actually sent me a brand new slide stop. They were very good about taking care of me in that regard, but the new slide stop still didn't necessarily fix the problem. So the one that's in here now is the one I polished myself, and so far it's been very reliable after that little bit of work had to be done. So this is a very expensive handgun. It didn't work reliably out of the box. I got it to work now, but because this wasn't overly reliable, right? And because this build, the 20-inch eventual SPR build, hasn't been overly reliable, I'm out here function testing them. You can't just assume everything's gonna work just because it's supposed to, right? So not only have I fixed both of these firearms, at least I assume so at this point anyway, but I'm constantly testing them for reliability and functionality now because I have that distaste in my mouth. Now, I do want to mention that Midway USA is the biggest supporter of the channel, and of course, thanks to them, I can get out here and do reviews, or I guess I would just say advice or suggestion related videos like this one in order to give you some ideas. Now, I mean, I've had this rifle since before my Midway USA partnership. The Kimber I acquired this year, but both guns still aren't necessarily up to par, at least in my opinion. So let's test them out and see if functionality has changed, but I just got to find out whether or not these are going to do what they're supposed to do, and whether or not they're going to work reliably, and I just have to continually function test them, which is now costing me more money in ammo, in parts, and in everything else. So a budget build is no longer very budget when you have to keep spending money on it to make it work properly. And an expensive gun is no longer worth the expense if you have to keep working on it to get it to work properly. So it goes both ways. But let's shoot these, just see how they're looking. And I just wanted to kind of share this with everybody because they've been my kind of like disappointments for the year in the sense of still not feeling 100% confident in them, right? So let's shoot these and see how it goes. First, we'll do the Kimber just because I already have it in my hand. We'll just see, can we get through this magazine at the very least? It's kind of cold out here, so that gives you some ideas as to reliability based on being in a more adverse environment, right? So, here we are. That's one full mag locked open on empty, and there was even the buried round there in the chamber already. So let's drop that out. Let's pop another mag in, because I always feel like that's a good idea, right? Beautiful. And let's try it again. Another mag down. So look, the amount of work I put into this pistol wasn't extreme by any means, but it definitely fixed the functionality of it, and it has been much more reliable since that. So I feel much better about this pistol now. It's not something I recommend still, just because for the price, it shouldn't have had to have any work done to it, in all honesty. And it's probably the last Kimber I'll ever buy, even though, I mean, I will say the Micro 9 seemed to work for some reason, and I'm not sure why, but I'm just not gonna spend money on a company that charges this much, mostly for aesthetics, let's be honest, but also at the same time that just doesn't provide a reliable product right out of the box, right? So, and I knew that already, trust me. There's reasons why I bought this that have nothing to do with the fact that I thought it was practical. Now, okay, let's, oh, that's bad for your 1911 Magic Prepper, you better watch out. Let's go ahead and see how the whole 20 inch is running. So, first off, actually, let me dump a couple rounds out. One of the issues I was having is that it wasn't locking back on empty, right? So, let's pop some rounds out, and we're just going to do 3 at a time to see if we can get locked back and to see what kind of a ejection pattern we're getting. Okay, ready? I guess I'll adjust the stock to be a little bit more comfortable for me. Let's make this happen. Okay, so we got lock open on empty. That's a good sign. Now, that was with some extra help from a suppressor, right? So, drop the mag. Okay, turn that safety back on. Let's go ahead and, not that it's loaded, but we gotta be safe and have good habits, right? Let's pop the suppressor off, which will now reveal the muzzle brake, which is another lovely source of concussion. This is gonna make my neighbors a little bit more upset. All right, 3 in the mag this time. There was 1 in the chamber and 3 in the mag last time. And do we get locked back on empty without the help of the suppressor? Well, I say we find out. Okay, here we go. We did that time. So, like I said before, with the reduced power spring, I was having an issue getting back into battery in this cold weather. It just didn't have enough oomph to get through some of the dirt and some of the cold because, you know, the system was a little dirty from running it suppressed, but now we're getting reliable extraction, reliable ejection, and we're getting rounds into battery as planned. So I just wanted to share this with everybody because it's something that needs to be done. You have to function test, you have to make sure everything's working properly, and if anything has given you a problem, not only do you need to resolve it and work on that, but you need to continually function test until you're comfortable with the results, until you feel 100% confident in that firearm. And look, like that budget SHTF AR-15 that I demonstrated for everybody, the AR Stoner, that's a project that's coming up where I'm going to show exactly what I did to that budget-friendly rifle to make it more so closer to 100% reliable, so that way you can actually depend on it when it comes to saving your life, right? So these are things you need to be doing if you're not doing them. If you have any guns that give you trouble, troubleshoot them, make repairs, make changes as necessary, tune the system as best you can, but then you have to get it out on the range and really put it to the test and make sure things are functioning in a way that they're supposed to. And if you're not doing that, you might find out the hard way that it's still not quite there. And even with that 20-inch Aero Precision, I was rocking, right? I was rocking that 20% reduced power spring from Springco, and it was running really smooth and had a really good cycling and was reliable in the sense of ejection and lock open on empty and everything else, but it was not reliable in charging the first round. And although that could be, you know, maybe not the biggest deal, it's not how an AR-15 is supposed to work, right? I'm not supposed to struggle on the first round. It's supposed to just go into battery. So changes had to be made and things continue in the sense of progression towards reliable function. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. These two guns are the ones giving me the most problems. Not that they don't work now, they work actually rather well now, and they're both fun to shoot, and they both definitely have a place or a purpose, you might say. But, you know, it is what it is. You can't expect everything to work 100% of the time, and there are ways to fix it. But if you want to avoid some pitfalls, you can either buy a higher quality rifle. This is Aero Precision. This is not like bottom of the barrel per se, but it was very undergassed, which I'm sure if I bought a complete, you know, 20-inch, let's say BCM or something like that, maybe I wouldn't have these problems. I can't guarantee that, but I would assume they'd be fewer and further between. And when it comes to the Kimber, a different lesson there is that, you know, just listen to what people tell you. I mean, Kimbers are good looking, not good, right? At least that's what my experience has been. And I wanted this specific gun. I wanted a Kimber for specific reasons. Otherwise, I would not have gotten this. Don't get it twisted. I don't think you should buy this gun. And I said that in the video review of this gun. Just because for the price, I shouldn't have had to do any work on it. And I certainly did. So let me know in the comments below if you had any similar situations this year or even in recent history when it came to firearms that let you down a little bit or just kept giving you frustrations when it came to making sure they were reliable, right? And one thing I want to mention real quick is that I am working on that Aero Precision as being an SPR, and that is something that I would expect to see here in the near future, but I have a 1-to-6 on it right now because the optics selection wasn't really working out the way it was supposed to originally. But the other thing about that gun is it was very undergassed, and let's just say my interaction with customer service over at Aero Precision was lackluster, not necessarily what I would have expected, and at one point communication just ended and I was never offered any type of resolution or even real suggestions. The suggestions I was offered was to use a heavier buffer weight because generally that would fix the problem, but that doesn't work when things are undergassed. Or, I mean, at least that's my understanding of how AR-15s work. So sometimes customer service isn't always there for you either, and that is part of what you pay for at times when it comes to some of these higher quality manufacturers. And what I will say about Kimber is even though a lot of their guns don't work the way they're supposed to, they tend to take care of you or fix them or send you parts or whatever they got to do to make you happy. So I will at least give them credit for that. Aero Precision, I like their stuff. I buy their lowers. I think they make quality components and parts. I have no beef with the company as a whole, but customer service was not, was kind of like non-existent. I don't know what else to say. So, and look, I don't reach out to companies as Magic Prepper. I reach out to companies as some random guy because I need to know how they take care of the average person. I don't want to get special treatment, right? So that way I can report back to all of you with what I found. Either way, get out, function test, make sure everything works right, and go to magicprepper.com if you need anything else from me at all. And besides that, it's going to be it for Magic Prepper.